Well, I tried phoning Mickey Holtz. I wasn't able to get through. So something must have come up. So we'll proceed with the meeting. And I'll call this meeting to order. And would you join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the
To
flag.
the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
individual, God, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. So we have the meeting agenda. Is there, it seems like the council wants to have some additional discussion on the dog park. Do you want to amend the agenda to some place to do that, Matthew?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would like to amend the agenda to have further discussion on the dog park. So wherever that makes sense.
Well, it's unfinished business, isn't it?
There you go. I like it.
And we'll put that down under unfinished business. Because that'll be right after the other one. Anything else? Otherwise, do we have approval?
Move that we accept the amended agenda as verbalized.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the meeting agenda with the addition of dog park discussion under unfinished business. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. So under announcements of appointments and...
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
did we do a roll call yet?
Oh, we've been doing a roll call for the last 15 minutes.
I know that.
No, I am sorry. You're absolutely right. Kathy, would you please do roll call? Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize for being late.
Oh, that's all right.
Jay McGowan,
Here.
Ken Ratliff,
Here.
John Blondo,
Here.
Beth Williams. Beth Williams,
Beth is absent. She said she was not going to be able to make it.
okay. And Mickey Holt,
There's no answer from Mickey.
okay. Stephen Harper,
Present.
Matthew Lund,
Present.
Rustin Weaver,
Here.
okay.
All right. So how about a motion to excuse?
Yeah, I move that we excuse the absences of Mickey and Beth.
We do a
Second.
roll call yet? Oh, we've been doing a roll.
There's second.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded to excuse the absent council members. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. They're excused. Okay. Thank you for catching me on that one, Ken. All right. So under announcements, appointments, and recognition, I'm going to read a proclamation from the Grand Columbia Council, Scout Me in Day, July 29th, that's today, a proclamation. So, if you don't mind, I'll take my glasses off. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council of the Boy Scouts of America in Central Washington has an outstanding legacy and received national acclaim for youth and family involvement in outdoor recreation, conservation of nature, youth leadership activities, and career development, we honor the 2020 Grand Columbia Council Boy Scouts of America. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council was founded 95 years ago in 1925 to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by teaching them the value of the Scout's oath, the Scout's law, and the Council provides boys and girls the nation's foremost Youth Character and Leadership Program. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council has 1,000 boys and girls and 80 leaders who direct scouting programs for youth from the Columbia River to the Canadian border and from Squamish Pass to Ritzville. Our community seeks to pay tribute to the work of scouts, scout leaders, volunteers who maintain lives of honesty, discipline, and purpose. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council seeks to strengthen current scouting programs and ensure scouting opportunities for future generations. The council members are active advocates in providing information and activities to promote the scouting mission and secure support for programs. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council invites the public to participate in July's River Run Regatta, involving a month of scouting activities accumulating in a scouting program, live and live stream on our website in Yakima or Wenatchee on July 29th, 2020. Whereas the River Run Regatta will bring support to improve Camp Fife, Camp Bonaparte, Camp Summit Vista, and increased training in cities, waterways, lakes, forests, and mountains of Central Washington, and fuel the achievement of expanding dens, troops, units, and volunteers. Whereas the Grand Columbia Council delivers programs that help generate community leaders who guide and lead their communities for generations to come, enabling these communities to be appreciated and safe havens for all. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council members of Cle Elum, do hereby proclaim July 29th, 2020 as Scout Me in Day in the city of Cle Elum, Washington. Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention, Matthew. I have to say, I was involved in Sea Scouts for a long time in San Francisco, and you do learn a lot from that. Okay, consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move
I
that
make
we
a motion
accept
we
the
ap-
consent
oh.
agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved by John Galando, seconded by Matthew Lund to accept the consent agenda. All in favor with aye?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is passed. So officer reports, there's nothing from Rob Ullman, but we will hear from our city planner, Lucy Temple. What do you have for us, Lucy?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and City Council, thank you. We have a lot of permitting happening right now. To name a few, McDonald's, Drew Brew, the Hospital District, a project called Studebaker Alley and Bonsai Teriyaki. Those are a land exchange or a right-of-way vacation requests that will be coming to you. And then permitting for city projects, including the Hanson Ponds Park project and large development review. I also get a lot of emails and phone calls about development pretty much every day, several times a day. Lot of zoning questions. What can I build here? What can I open in this shop type things? So development is definitely not really slowed down in Elum. And I just want to give a quick update, because I know we have a long agenda, on the city park project. That project, a lot of people saw a lot of movement there a little while ago when they did the concrete footings and the slab and the pathway. And we have been waiting for structural delivery. And due to COVID, their company that works with other subsidiaries have had some slowdown. Updates regularly. And we're definitely still on track for an August delivery of the structure. They had a little problem with the pressure treating of the lumber that goes on the inside of the roof for the snow. We're waiting on now. I did want to just mention who the partners are on that project to give them recognition before we actually have a ribbon cutting or whatever we're going to do. Those are Shoemaker, Suncadia, the Rotary, Pasto's Inland Construction, And then we also had a donation of the concrete form and pour from Pop-Off Construction for the slab and the pathway. And then partial financial donation for the roofing, among others. There's been a lot of volunteers, a lot of donations. So I just wanted to say thank you for everybody so far. And Mike and the city crew have been overseeing the project, but that update just kind of came in, and the donations were part of the design. So I thought I'd let everybody know about that. And that's all I have tonight, unless someone has questions.
Okay, thank you for that, Lucy. I would ask that people that are on the call, including myself, mute yourself, keep the background noise down. Okay, so next we'll hear from our Public Works Director, Mike Engel.
Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you. I would like to point out that my crew, I want to take my hat off to them. Due to the extreme heat, they came to me and said, hey, we still want to give 110% for the city, but the heat's kind of slowing us down. Would you mind if we came in early? And I'm like, absolutely. So you probably have seen our crew out and to beat traffic and to not impede traffic, especially during rush hour. My crew's been coming in at 4, trying to beat the morning heat. So they've been running around town doing a lot of crack sealing, things that haven't been done for quite a while, trying to prevent future potholes. Crack sealing is a major preventive of that. Thanks to the county, we've got our chip seal projects completed. We'll start working on getting the rest of that cleaned up, the loose gravel and stuff, as we progress here. Phase 1 project is pretty much almost complete. They're still working on landscaping. All the major interruption stuff is done until PSE comes in. Then there's going to be some parking stall closures and that type of stuff while they stand light poles and the pedestrian lighting. But for the most part, phase 1 is wrapping up, phase 2 of the downtown project is wrapping up. Stafford intersection, they're wrapping up quickly. Today they finished paving everything. They have waiting on PSE to get some lighting put in and stuff. Then that project will be pretty much complete. They're working on finishing up, tying up some landscaping and that type of stuff. But other than that, it's been busy. It's been rough on our guys out in this heat, but my hat's off to them. They've been powering through to it. Next week, my crew is going to kind of fade out of Elum a little bit. We kind of committed ourselves to lending a hand to one of our neighboring cities. The city of Roslyn has a very badly failing storm system on one of their side streets that's playing havoc on a couple of the residents there. So we've, using our interlocal agency agreement, agreed to go up there and give them a hand and put a new storm sewer system in on 3rd and Utah. So if you happen to be in Roslyn next week, I'd avoid that area. We're going to have some road closures and stuff trying to get a storm sewer system in for them. And then the following week after that, we are back in Elum, and we're going to be putting a new water main up on just off of Rossetti Way. There's some residents down there that their water main is starting to fail to the point of lack of major water pressure in their residence. So we came to the conclusion that the water main itself is failing. So we're just going to go ahead and upgrade that and also install a new fire hydrant up there, which will allow for better fire protection for that residency. So that's it for now, if there's no questions.
Oh, thank you, Mike. You guys are getting a lot done considering how hot it is. Thank you for that. So now we'll hear from our police chief, Kirk Bland.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council. Happy to report we are fully staffed again, and minus people on vacation, that type of thing, but we are fully staffed. I've been getting questioned a lot since this whole COVID thing has started, what our calls of service have been. Of course, we've been tracking that, and we're just over 2,400 calls for this year, and that's par for the course. So we haven't seen any change. A lot of people were expecting our calls to service to be really down because of non-essential travel, etc. But we haven't really experienced that here in the Upper County. So we are status quo, and our stats are showing it's the same as any other year. On that note, training has been difficult for us because all our training has been canceled. Nobody's holding in-person trainings. So Rob has allowed us to purchase an online training program through policeone.com. It's provided by Lexipol. So we've started our officers on different training topics online. And what's nice about that is even the night shift guys get to do stuff on duty. So it fits with their time schedule. So it's working well for us. Happy to do that. There was a supervisor's class that I wanted to get our 2 new supervisors into, and that's an in-person class. Washington State canceled it, so I had to ship it out to Idaho. So they'll be going next month to a supervisor's course in Idaho. It's a 2-day course, important for them for part of their certifications. So I was glad to see Idaho at this point. Anyway, it's open, obviously subject to change, but it looks like Idaho's opening up a little bit quicker than we are. And on that note, we had a law enforcement executive Zoom meeting today, and it was expressed through DNR and the Forest Service guys, as well as the county guys, all the amount of people in the Upper County, Forest Service roads, all the parking complaints, the overcrowding of certain areas, etc. And they wanted to get the word out that all their parking issues and stuff, all the warnings are over. They're going to take a more aggressive approach on those issues and start towing cars if need be. So I just wanted to go for people coming to our area to camp and whatnot. Some people aren't going to campgrounds; they're just hitting a wide spot of the road or flooding trailheads, etc. They're going to start towing cars if need be. So, just wanted to give fair warning on that. Other than that, we're status quo. If there's any questions.
Sounds quiet. Thank you, and I appreciate that update on the parking issue. Okay, we're going to go down to public appearances. And so the first one we have on there is from the chamber, and we'll be hearing from Madison Ford.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Great, thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Today, I'm just going to be going over our tourism report for June, which feels like forever ago, for discovercleelum.com. This is a reminder, we have a website, Discover Cleelum, yes, that's the one. And we have a social media campaign, a blog page, newsletters that go out, and a few different things that make our tourism campaign what it is digitally. Our website traffic was actually up 26.4% month over month. And so that is really good to see, even considering that tourism is down on a national level. And it's up 52% month over month as well for organic searches specifically. So people just, without being influenced by an ad, looking up something related to Cleveland. In June, we found out that 70% of regular travelers to Kittitas County will still be recreating this summer despite COVID restrictions. So it's kind of driven our messaging. It's not surprising. We've seen how packed Lake Elum and Salmon Sac has been and downtown. And so a lot of our messaging was based around just trying to push campground reopenings, trail reopenings. I sit on the Kittitas County Recreation Forum. And so I get to hear from different land managers and entities on what their plans are and kind of help communicate those to our travelers. We focused a lot on hiking, bird watching, golfing, things that are safe to do, especially as we were starting to reopen in June, and things that people can do while still being comfortable social distancing. We started pushing the hashtag recreate responsibly as we started to feel the pressure of tourists on our natural areas, especially surrounding Upper County and the Lake Elum area. we wanted to just push out how to also take care of the area and be a good traveler. We also started promoting our local physical resources at the visitor center for self-guided trips, as we're seeing that kind of be an uptick trend in the tourism world for obvious reasons. The Forest Service Ranger Station has been closed, and so we've noticed even more people coming in for permits and maps and information, as that isn't an available resource right now. We also featured around 15 businesses. We try to feature at least 15 on a monthly basis, as well as introducing any new businesses that came into town, including in June, Swiftwater Pizza, and I think Ace and Baking Co. have also arrived in late May or June as well. As far as some other highlights and numbers, our average session duration, so the amount of time people are spending on our site that got in there for our ad campaign, is 38 seconds, which is up 6% month over month. Although this isn't as high as we want it to be, and we're pushing and finding ways to make this higher, we're assuming that we're having troubles bringing it up because people are not booking accommodations, they're not exploring as many restaurants. A lot of what they're doing is purchasing gas, purchasing their things to go outside, and recreating in the area. Some top pages this month on Discover Cle Elum were 5 ways to explore the outdoors in Cle Elum, a blog post that we put out, 5 hikes around Cle Elum, our homepage, of course, our trails page, our Cle Elum's top mountain biking trails in the area blog. So again, we see that consistency of outdoor rec being punctuated here. As far as search terms, I won't go way too into this, but organically, it was Cle Elum Lodging, Cle Elum Lake. People are looking up hikes near Cle Elum Lake camping. And as far as paid, it was very similar. Camper sites near me, campsites in Washington State. RV parks near me, camp in Washington, camping around Washington. Very similar words there. And then in the community, just what we were up to outside of our digital campaign, in June, a lot of it was trying to navigate the 4th of July and what we were going to do there. We were able to do our fireworks show and put together a virtual Pioneer Parade video, which we put on YouTube. And we have a few hundred views on it. Thanks to the 23 people who participated in being a part of it. I think that it added something, and we did what we could in that way to kind of wish everyone a happy Independence Day. Additionally, we added a gathering spaces page to discovercleelum.com with some venue spaces. And obviously, people cannot have major events right now, or even events with more than 10 people. But we thought that when travelers are ready, they're going to be booking their weddings, they're going to be looking for corporate retreats, they're going to be looking to meet, have business meetings, and have a central location to do that. And so we added that page onto discovercleelum.com and hope to continue to add listings. We also spearhead the county's event safety plan template and guidebook, which has been an ongoing process for months now. We did establish an event safety plan template, basically asking event coordinators and venues the right questions that in a contact tracing scenario, public health would need to know in order to have a safe event. This could potentially also be something that is submitted with a event application through any municipality in the county to be able to give the city a better understanding of how the event is going to go down in a safe way. Right, as we just finalized this, public health and the governor's office obviously made some decisions, and this is on hold as of this point because we're only allowed to have events with up to 10 people. So pretty much everything is canceled across the county. But we hopefully will have more updates on that as things continue to progress. And then lastly, we developed an outdoor guide for the whole county, punctuating a lot of the outdoor rec in Upper County. We did this because our visitors guide is usually published in the spring so that travelers can use it through the summer on an annual basis. But obviously we can produce any ads, tourism related businesses. We're not looking for exposure at this time. When it just first hit, we didn't even know if we were going to have any travelers this summer. And we had a little grappling conversation with a few different partners where we decided let's just produce an ad-free outdoor guide with information on hiking, mountain biking, scenic drives, things to do, fishing, rafting, and that way to have information at least for the summer until 2021 when we'll launch our official 2021 visitors guide, which will continue year over year starting in January. And unless there's any questions, that's about all I have. I really encourage all of you guys to follow us on social media if you just want to be in the loop with our messaging to travelers. We can be found at Discover Elum, and we're also at discovercleelum.com. Are there any
There
questions?
you go. I'm back. Any questions for Madison, you guys? No? All right. Well, thank you for that, Madison.
Thanks so much.
All right. So now, here we have Debbie Bogart from the Downtown Association. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Honorable Mayor and council members. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I want to start with just saying thank you for letting the downtown be a part of the CARES grant program. My treasurer, Keith Watts, really enjoyed having the opportunity to work with the city and be a part of that. It's a process that's also being looked at by other communities, other Main Street communities who were impressed that we are a partner with the city in looking at the CARES Act grant and helping make those decisions. So that's been really, I think, a benefit for both the city and for our downtown association. So thank you again for that. We have a lot of things going on in our downtown program. One of the things that's come out really strongly is that the Washington Main Street Association just released an impact report. It goes from the years 2011 to 2019. And in that report, there's quite a bit of information. I'll be sharing this later, hope maybe September, October, when we get more of the PowerPoint put together so I can share it. Well, one of the some of the things that they put in there was that they found that the Main Street programs have helped generate over $550 million in sales in Main Street businesses throughout the state of Washington. Then they've supported over 6,400 jobs and businesses. So it's real impactful what's happening in our Main Street programs. It's something that we as a local downtown are going to start looking at as an impact report. You know, what are we doing to help our businesses and how is it impacting our retail and our economy here in Cle Elum? And speaking about impact, you know, with the restrictions that are coming in play right now, particularly the new ones this next week, we are joining with the Kittitas County Economic Recovery Team and taking a look at open spaces, meaning what can we do, where can we use outdoor spaces to place businesses that do serve food or beverages, and how do we do that? What are the ordinances? What are the rules that we have to look at in doing this? This past weekend, I was in Walla Walla visiting family, and Walla Walla has a beautiful program that they've put together in having outdoor spaces, both those that can serve alcohol and those that are just open areas for people to congregate in a safe way and have time to be together in an open space. So I know, Mayor, you've had some interest in that also, and we're going to be looking at that. We're playing a strong advocate role right now. When I have several countywide meetings that I'm involved in, and one of the things I'm speaking out about is how good our businesses are doing in preparing and being safe. And that I'm really impressed with what we're doing in our businesses, that the masking up, the safety that's going on, the sanitization and everything. And I'm also talking about, and I want to thank you, Chief Bland, for giving this report, talking about the impact that's coming into our city when we have our lakes and our parks and our outside areas filled with people who are socializing and they're not practicing healthy, safe manner. And they're coming into our town and they may choose not to mask up, or they may not have been masked up when they're together. And so they make us a vulnerable community. So I have been speaking quite frankly to a number of leaders in our county about that issue. One of the things that we're also doing is looking at How can we provide tools for businesses to be rewarding towards wearing masks? So our Passport of Stars, we've started seeding that a little bit. So we've got some businesses who are just handing out almost completed passports by saying, thank you for wearing your mask to my business. It's a reward to that person visiting a business, and they're liking that. We also recently introduced our Downtown Dollars program, which is another advocacy for our businesses downtown. It's something that businesses can provide, they can purchase. We have the Kiwanis purchasing them. We have a couple businesses that are purchasing them. And they're giving them out as rewards. And once that goes into the business, it goes towards that person's purchase, and then we as a downtown are reimbursing that business. So we have that's going on. We're in the process also of trying to determine what's going to happen this fall and in the holidays. So we have a survey that's out right now, and we'll be on the street in the next couple of weeks doing some face-to-face survey, walking around saying, what would you like to see? What can we do that's safe? How can we have a festive environment for both Halloween and for Christmas, the holidays, and still make our community inviting for anybody who's there? As a downtown organization, we're also very involved in building a healthier community. And by that, I mean, I'm sitting on several committees that are taking a look at childcare, adverse childhood experiences and resiliency, workforce development are 3 examples. The reason is that we know that if we don't have the ability to retain a strong workforce or a healthy workforce, that impacts our businesses. So what can we do in our community to help support childcare? What can we do to help support employers and employees in understanding that people come in with problems and they need help, and we need to give them to the resources we need. And we also are looking at what can our work source and our people-to-people provide, and they're doing a great job of bringing that into the Small Business Development Center that the Chamber has just opened up. We're also waiting to hear all 34 Main Street programs across the state submitted an advocacy letter to Congress asking for funding. And it's potential that if the funding goes through, that the state of Washington could receive $1 million in recovery funds that would go spread out to our small, to our local programs, our 34 programs. We are not sure what's going to happen next year with our B&O tax dollars. We don't know if they're going to be available or not yet. So funding is a concern for all of our downtown associations. So that's kind of a nutshell where we are right now. It's a lot of talking and building relationships, meeting with our new businesses, being available for businesses to wave at us or put their mask on and come in our office and ask questions. I can tell you that there isn't more than 3 days that goes by that I don't have a visitor that I'm meeting on the street, outside my office, or in my office saying, what's that building doing? Is it available? How can I get in touch with somebody about that building? People are interested in purchasing in our community. So we are, connecting them with realtors, talking to them a little bit about what might work in our community. So we have a high interest right now for Elum from our Seattle and our other community people that are coming into this area. So, is there any questions?
Oh, that's interesting. Elum's got to be the hot spot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. In many ways.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about the pocket park things. I've got a lot of real good pictures of those. I'd like to see us do some of that for businesses that need more outdoor space.
And I just want to mention the Glando Pocket Park. It's not finished, not because of the Downtown Association. It's because Glando's has things that they're going to be doing there. And I am meeting with 2 businesses to see about using that space a little bit more in the near future. So, we'd love to develop more pocket parks if we could get our agreements in place.
Oh, yeah, but there's another kind of that I've seen where they'll take the parking spaces in front of the business and make that into space for the public instead of cars. And I'd like to work with you on that.
That would be great. I have great pictures from Walla Walla last weekend, so
yes. Okay.
Happy to do that.
Thanks for that, Debbie. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm not muted. Okay, so now we'll go down to this is business requiring public hearings, and of course we've continued the dog park public hearing because we promised an in-person meeting. But since then, the requirements for in-person meetings has been reduced to 10 people, and it's difficult to do that. So I'm going to leave that where it's at now, and we'll go down to 8, unfinished business. And Matthew, you can take up the conversation on the dog park, okay? You're muted, Matt.
Hang on, I'm muted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would like to see us actually finish the hearing process, and actually I would move that we dispense with this location. I think there's been adequate, well, quite a bit of feedback, good feedback, reasoned feedback about why this location is not an ideal space for this. And I would like to see us not have this drag on for potentially a months, or who knows how long we're going to be in this stage. And I am prepared at a future meeting, hopefully next month, to bring some alternate sites that we can hopefully explore and maybe get some movement on. Also, we had an offer from the folks who helped us with the survey on the original site to, they have some connections to maybe help us get the railroad to give us an easement or whatever we need to be able to get access there. So I'd like to explore some of the locations and move off of this location, because I think you know, our veterans and other folks who expressed reservations with this location made very good points, and I have no desire to you know, shoehorn this into this space if the community is not in favor. We did receive several more comments that I don't know, I guess would like to have read into the record if that's appropriate, and then maybe see if we can close the hearing and move on.
Okay, so I don't know exactly how we would go about that, how we would close the public hearing. I mean, I did get copies of those comments. I don't have them with me here. Wise,
I have,
I'm not sure.
I have them, and I think Lucy does as well, if one of us could read them in, but I think that I would move that we close the hearing, and I assume we can do that with a vote of the council.
Well,
I would,
Mr. Mayor, I would think that if the council does decide to drop this proposal, we don't have to close any hearings because no hearing exists anymore.
Agreed.
so I would say that that's in, oh, because are you saying that because of the public hearing was in response to the proposed,
Location.
yeah, I would say the same. And
So then,
I would
so
say
can we
it's
ask-
not required, but to respect our constituents, I think their opinion should be just simply read into the record, and the public, and then the public hearing closed.
Yeah, more than reading the record, I think since we have an open hearing, we need to close it. Otherwise, the hearing will just continue to be open. But maybe Alex can help us with that. I don't know.
Yes, if I may. I think that's all correct if we were at a regular meeting, or if we had put that on the notice of the special meeting. I don't think final action can be taken on closing the meeting at this meeting, or excuse me, closing the hearing at this meeting, because we didn't put that in the notice of the special meeting.
okay, so
Okay, then maybe I'll amend, and I would say I would move that we notice the hearing for the next meeting with the purpose of reading any more comments or taking any more comments, and then moving to close, and then close the hearing at the next meeting.
okay, that's and we'll have that on the agenda to accomplish that. And I think that discussion we just had will be able to put this issue to bed.
That should work.
Okay. All right. All right. Good. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to new business, and Lucy's going to give us an update on the let's see. How do I read this? Property swap update.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so you have this in your packet, and this is just an introduction to kind of the two-part process. One is a right-of-way vacation. So a vacation of the western extension of West 5th Street. And the other part of it would be a land exchange with the applicant, between the applicant and the city. Oh, sorry, there's also a boundary line adjustment mixed into that as well. So you can see in the staff report, I gave a little bit of history, but basically thank you, Matthew.
There you go. Okay. Yes. There you go.
So the graphics in your original staff report that you got with your packets show kind of where they are, where the parcels are that we're talking about, and where the right-of-way is, and then what the AGs, the name of the owners, what their proposal is one of the last graphics. But what I failed to include was all of that on one graphic. So here's my hand-drawn one that I put together for Monday night. And but if you look between page 6 on your in your packets and the graphic that's on the screen, you'll kind of understand. So, sorry, he's gonna. Okay.
You want to go to the other one?
Well, it's okay. So this one basically shows that there's a long, what the surveyor is calling a knife-shaped parcel. So there's a long, pointy parcel there, and then there's the right-of-way would be the extension of 5th Street, and this is not to scale. Because we're starting with the assessor's website, which sometimes those GIS polygons aren't to scale. And then you can see the AGs own the property to the north. They own 3 lots to the north, and then that long skinny parcel, that's what they own right now. They also, on that long skinny parcel, you're gonna see a blue line here, kind of towards the right-hand side. That is a trail that's been used by the community for a very long time to get you from that neighborhood up on 5th Street and 6th Street down to the coal mines trail. So down at the very bottom of that blue line is the big concrete culvert that goes across the coal mine, or the Crystal Creek, just south of or just north of Ronald Avenue in that Hidden Valley neighborhood. So that also is a connection to get people up to the Rat Pack Trail and other trails north of the 5th, 6th Street area. Now, the AGs propose to trade some right-of-way, that area highlighted in kind of the light orange color, for most of that large, skinny parcel, and give that to the city to remain open space in perpetuity. And the way that they want to do that is basically they would extend their northern parcels down through the right-of-way, which in their proposal would be vacated to them, down into that knife-shaped parcel, and then leaving the west and the east portion of the large parcel connected by about 50-foot strip that's all along the coal mines trail. So that's basically the gist of the project. And in order to do that, they need to go through those processes that I explained earlier, of vacation of right-of-way, which of course then has to go to council. And then after that, a boundary line adjustment, and then the final a land exchange, which would be a process that Alex, our city attorney, would be helping with. So where we're at right now is waiting for a survey to see what that all equals. And that's why I don't have very good graphics right now. So once that survey would be finalized, then we would know the exact acreage. Then we can know what we're working with. But the proposal is, and that's included in your staff report that was provided in your packets, some dates are posed in there in a table on the front page. Because there are so many kind of moving parts to something like this, just we have to look at the calendar really closely and make sure that we're doing things by the book. So August 10th meeting, we would come back with the resolution that has to come to council for any vacation of right-of-way. the resolution is only to set the date of the future hearing. No real discussion. It's just, we're going to set a date for the future hearing. That has to be at least 20 days later. So we're into September for that hearing. Also, on August 10th, we would bring to you a draft agreement for the transfer of property, laying out the terms of the land exchange. And that would be put into place so that if the vacation of right-of-way is approved, then there's an agreement between the parties of what would be the result. And if you have questions about that, I'm sure that Alex would be happy to answer them at this time. And then there are some other permitting things that we'll do in between the survey and the parcel segregation boundary line adjustment. And then coming back September 14th at the earliest would be that public hearing for the vacation and the ordinance, and then a council decision after that. And then at some point following those things, we would have the final completion of the statutory warranty deed or the transfer of property, if that's what the council decides to do. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have, but really this is just to introduce the topic so that it's not out of the blue at the next meeting.
Well, I'll say one thing about that is that the trail that's on this property has been used for well over 100 years. It's been a traditional pathway that the residents of Seven Hill have used to get down even before it was a coal mine trail, when it was the railroad right-of-way. That's how all the kids, everybody has gone down off that hill, and it would really be in the city's benefit to have that property. It'd be open space. It's the creek runs down along inside of there, so it makes a lot of sense to me. Any other questions for Lucy?
Honorable Mayor, if I may, this is Mike. I know that piece of property personally. I'm very aware of that property, and I'm very aware of the activity of hikers and bikers that use that piece of property to access the Coal Miners Trail. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents that everything you stated is 100% accurate, and that is could potentially be a very valuable piece of property to the city and the public for access from the Rat Pack to the Coal Miners Trail.
And just to further what Mike said, you know, the private landowners were not aware that this trail was on the property when they purchased that property. And they are not really interested in keeping it open if they retain that property. So that's a big factor in community connectivity to their recreational resources, but also just to get to work, just to take a shortcut, you know, if they're able. It is kind of a steep trail, but I did go up there myself the other day, and I packed my bicycle up the trail, and then I decided to ride my bicycle down Stafford Avenue, which is the only other community connection from that area up on the hill down to the Coal Mines Trail, and it was a scary experience. So there's no real shoulder on that road. So that is part of the consideration, and I think that will be kind of clearly stated in the resolution or in the ordinance later to come with some more exhibits. Okay.
Any questions for Lucy on this? It doesn't look like. Ken, you're trying to say something?
Looks like a great proposal.
All right. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. With that, we'll move on to resolution number 2020-018. This is a technology acceptable use policy, and Rob was supposed to kind of walk us through that one. But Stephen, you've worked on this quite a bit. Why don't you give us a little bit of a heads up? Are you capable of doing it? Can you do that? Or?
I'm certainly capable, but I'll yield to our chair of the technology committee for that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a maestro then.
pretty easy. It's essentially, we put together, as we're kind of moving down the road of having devices, portable devices for council members and potentially planning commissioners and other folks, as well as standardizing login access and everything as we upgrade our servers and everything. We wanted to put together just an acceptable use policy that would cover not only employees, but also elected officials and volunteers and everybody else who would access any of the city's technology resources with either a personal or a city issued device. So this policy essentially just lays out responsibilities and standards and procedures and restrictions for any devices that connect to the City of Clear Elum's network for city business purposes. And then, you know, has a little bit in there about public records compliance and non-compliance. So it's just kind of putting all of the rules and regulations down on paper, some that have already been in the employee manual, and just making sure that it covers, essentially making it so it covers any device that connects to the network, so that we have good coverage for legal and security and state compliance and all that kind of stuff. And it's been reviewed by Alex, by the legal counsel, and I think we're it's pretty boilerplate. I think Jay, you're on mute.
Yes, you can see me mumbling there. Thank you. Well, I was going to ask the council if they have any desire to pass this resolution or not. Are there any questions? Any further questions?
I would move that we adopt. I'd move that we adopt resolution 2020-018, technology acceptable use policy.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to pass resolution 2020-018, and this is a resolution of the city adopting acceptable use policy for electronic and such devices. Are there questions on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor with aye.
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 Opposed? There's none opposed, so we will adopt resolution 2020-018. Thank you for that. So next on the agenda, we have a ordinance number of 1589, and this is an emergency street preservation regulation. And we'll start with Greg Dorn to give us you know, a kind of a walkthrough on this, and then I think that we'll probably be hearing from Mike Engelhardt also. So Greg, do you want to fill the council in on the necessity of this ordinance?
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. They were broke up there just a tiny bit there.
Okay, well, I'll speak louder and let me know if I'm not coming through clearly. The council is probably well aware, Cle Elum as a historic community, many of the streets were constructed well before construction design standards were in place, and were never constructed to accommodate the large and heavy vehicles that are on the roadway today. And as a result, they're susceptible to damage, particularly in the winter months. And the city now has, and has for some time, has the authority to place no weight restrictions certain city roads. But there are times of the year when weather isn't the factor, it's just the size and weight of the vehicle on certain streets. And the city state has been aware of the potential for damage that these large trucks and loads have, even out of bad periods, and recent events and circumstances for an opportunity to moved this up the to-do list, and we prepared revisions to this code that keep in place the ability to establish seasonal weight restrictions, but also to add provisions for the issuance of haul permits on the older city streets that weren't designed to abate these heavy loads. The primary purpose of the haul permit is to make sure that it's acceptable that roads that were designed to handle heavier loads are being used. And when necessary to use some of these older streets, there is a mechanism in place to recover the cost of fixing any damages to these streets from the users, which typically would be things like potholes. And so that the general public in the city fund or road fund would not have to pay for the improvements caused by a specific use or user. The city has discovered in recent times that agencies that may be authorizing activities outside the city but require the use of the city aren't always sensitive to the impact that the use that they're authorizing may cause on city streets, and has not been diligent in requiring that the users that they're authorizing repair any damages to the city streets, so it gives the city a measure of protection and don't have to rely on the county or agencies such as Department of Natural Resources to make sure that city streets are used responsibly, and if somebody damages them, they're repaired. That's the intent of the regulations. There are clear exceptions or exemptions for state highways and for city streets that were designed to handle the heavier loads, and there are provisions that would enable delivery light to be able to continue to make deliveries to groceries and stores and businesses. The primary focus of this would be on things like logging trucks carrying things to or from mining sites or construction activities that are sustained over a defined period, and that by their nature could be damaging city streets.
Okay, Ken, you have questions from Greg, or you have a question?
Well, a comment and then a question. Thank you, Greg. We all know that we're way overdue for doing this, and I enthusiastically support it. And I like how it's put together. Just a point of clarification, we list the first part is the applicability, and the WSDOT owned streets, roads are exempt. And then the First Street, Second Street, those others are exempt from the all-season weight and use restrictions, but it appears that they are not exempt from the oversized vehicles and loads chapter. Is that correct?
That is correct. So
Perfect. That's good. That's what I wanted to hear. And thank you. And so that we all know that now we have code to insist on a permit for an overweight or oversized load that comes through town. And we've had a number of them that take Ranger Station Road and Douglas Monroe Boulevard to get back on to avoid the overpass. So that'll just help us in managing our streets. So thank you, Greg. I really endorse this.
Mayor, if I might anticipate a follow-up question, the reason no streets were specifically exempted from the seasonal restrictions is that the weight rooms are made annually based on circumstances and typically only are applied to certain roads, but we didn't want to automatically exempt streets because there could be circumstances, a big event or something of that nature where some additional streets to be included that otherwise wouldn't. So we didn't want to tie the hands of the city in making an appropriate decision under weather conditions. So it would be expected weight restrictions would not apply streets, but there may be circumstances when they need
to. Mike, do you want to add your comments on this ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of touch base on what both Greg and Ken have stated, the oversized loads on 903 and Railroad Street and stuff, although they are not part of these closures, the city still requires the oversized loads and the overweight loads to notify the city, and there is an overweight and oversized load permit that they are required to get from the city along with a fee. So that is completely separate from this ordinance that we're trying to get passed. This ordinance is specifically, if you look at the roads, it specifically revolves around a lot of the residential area. We don't want trucks to be bypassing First Street or SR 903, as you may, to go bypass up on the residential areas where the roads are not in the shape they need to be in to handle kind of weight restriction. So that's what this is mainly revolving around.
Okay, is there any other questions from the council? Looks like John Galando is waving his hand.
I guess just a question on this, being that it's an emergency regulation type of thing. Is there a sunset date on this, or is this going to be part of the code and always part of the code?
Yes, this would be a permanent addition to the city code. The provision is so that would go into effect immediately, and so that there wouldn't be a lag time. That is customary with many types of applications or regulations. It's sometimes a party who knows that a regulation is going to go into effect might hurry up and try to do something before it goes into effect. Since the intent of this is to protect city streets, we would hate to have somebody, for instance, try to hurry up and move a house this weekend and do damage to public or private property. So the emergency provision would enable it to go into effect immediately and don't have to wait any ill-advised activities that initiated before the effective date.
Okay, I understand the effective date thing, but I guess I'm assuming it. First part of your answer was kind of garbled, but
I'm sorry.
I guess the question that I'm asking, is there a sunset date on this one?
No, it would remain in effect.
Matthew, you have a comment?
I was just going to ask, I see under section B on the exemptions for the all-season weight and use restrictions, I see Denny Avenue and Marion Drive are on here, but none of the Cle Elum Pines West streets are listed on here. Is that intentional? Like Bala Drive or any of these new ones that are there?
That would be intentional because they connect to Roslyn Place and Pine Street, which do not have a modern load capacity standard in their designs.
They don't
Matthew,
connect, do they?
Matthew, I'll tie in on that. This is Mike.
They do.
Okay.
Those strictly go out to SR 903. Those don't go down into Roslyn Place or Pine Street. But the reason that those aren't on there yet is because we do not have the official, the city officially yet does not have the agreement signed with Cle Elum Pines for that complete division yet. We're still in the making. That's still under construction.
Got it.
And I'll remind the council that there is a connection, and it goes through Roslyn Place. It's an easement that the city has fought for, and the only thing that we've lost is that there is a gate that is permitted by the residents there, but there's certainly an easement and a connection that can be legally traversed should the city need to, or should the city need to give that ability to somebody else.
I guess then, thank you, Mike, by the way, for that clarification. Would it make sense for us to add something in here, essentially saying any streets built from now on? Or do we need to go in and specifically add to these and remember to do that each time when we build streets in the future?
Mayor, as it is, it would require an action of the city council to add a street to the list of exemptions. If it was the desire of the council, we could certainly modify the regulations to say that the mayor or his or her designee is authorized to add additional seats to exempt additional from the season weight use restrictions. So that would have to be with them authorize the mayor or his or her designee to do that. Otherwise, as written, the city council, the staff would bring the city council an amendment for the council approve to add additional streets to the exemption list.
Ken, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I don't think it's a burden on the future to just add streets as we acquire them. And so as this is drafted, I think we're fine. We don't add streets very often, and that can be a part of our review and acceptance process. As Mike just mentioned, we've got some things that aren't fully in yet. So this explains that. And so as we accept these things, we'll have to get in here anyway. And I think it's good for it to come to the council. And also from John's concern, the emergency part of it, on the text of the ordinance on the second page, just before the signature, that paragraph kind of explains why this can be considered a legitimate public emergency. It kind of restates what Greg told us about. So, and it's there's precedent in different court cases and so on. So I like it as it is, and so I'll make a motion that the council pass ordinance number 1589 as presented.
And I will give it an enthusiastic second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. It was moved by Ken Ratliff and seconded by Stephen Harper to pass ordinance 1589. Questions on the motion?
I have two things.
I do as well. Go ahead, Matthew.
Oh, I just wanted to close the loop and say, Ken, I completely understand what you're saying. My concern is we're going to add a lot of streets in the near future as we have some large developments coming up, and I'm just concerned that there may be oversights as streets get added that we forget to add them to this list, and I just want to make sure that that doesn't get overlooked. So that was my concern there. And then the second thing is I would request that we have a roll call vote on this because some people haven't been unmuting, and I just want to make sure this is an important vote that we have affirmative or not affirmative votes recorded individually.
Okay,
Yeah, good job, Matthew.
Rustin, you had a comment.
I was curious to know if this is doing enough. I live on 2nd Street and semi trucks barrel down my street in front of my house, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a day. Is this doing enough to slow down semi trucks, or is this just putting it in place because we have this big development coming barreling down as well and we have to get something in? But it doesn't, I don't know if this is doing enough to maybe deter semi trucks from going down my street. I mean, there's the little girl in the corner rides their scooter daily at 4 o'clock on our street, and it's still semi trucks that have to slam on their brakes. Or is it doing enough to slow that down? Is it doing enough to make 2nd Street safe?
Ken?
Yeah. Truthfully, I don't think this ordinance is designed for speed control. 2nd Street is obviously a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and if we have a problem, we're not handing out enough traffic tickets, plain and simple.
So Rustin, I guess the point is we understand and appreciate your concern. It is definitely a lot of truck traffic on your street, but this mainly is concerned with the road damage. But we can certainly bring that up. I know traffic, but there are ways to make it inconvenient for a truck to go fast down that street, and we'll have to discuss that in the future. Any other questions on the motion?
Well, I guess I would question, why is this being brought up now? Have there been such heavy damage to the streets? I mean, why is this brought up now versus 5 years ago versus last meeting? Why right now in the middle of July is this brought up?
Ken, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, it's decades overdue. And probably the emergency nature is that instead of being a sleepy little town, we're just getting more of this traffic than ever, which can have an adverse impact on the streets, which then we, the citizens, and the council have to rob money from elsewhere to do the damage that should not happen in the first place. So the thing that is making this more of an issue is the uptick in traffic. And so it's a tool that should have been in a long time ago, and I'm just glad that we're doing it. And as Greg explained, yeah, we want it right now so that there's no delay for somebody's pet project. And others can comment too.
Yeah, I would speak to the urgency. I can't talk of any specific projects that I think are pertinent to speak specifically, but I can say that this does not have passing this immediately does not have the effect of making anybody less safe. If anything, it makes them more safe. And that I know of, it does not have any entanglements that would limit the liberty of the citizens of Cle Elum. If anything, it would increase the liberty and the safety of the city of the citizens of Cle Elum proper specifically. And so with that, I would again continue in strong support of it and urge others to vote in the affirmative.
Okay, any other questions?
Jay, would you like me to speak at all?
Yes, go ahead.
And to kind of elaborate a little bit on Russ and everyone that has expressed concerns, what this does is this helps to, over the last few weeks, we've noticed more and more and more heavy truck traffic traveling down 2nd and 3rd Street through residential areas. So does this ultimately help with the kids riding around on their bicycles, especially when they're stuck at home? Absolutely. So this is something that's kind of why Greg and I have discussed about making this an emergency, is to minimize the truck traffic and heavy truck traffic on our residential streets sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, any other questions on the motion? If not, Kathy, would you please do a poll vote?
Sure. Ken Ratliff,
Yes.
John Glondo,
Yes.
Stephen Harper,
Aye.
Matthew Lund,
Aye.
Rustin Weaver.
Hi, Kathy. Yes.
Aye. So that is 5. I didn't call for Beth or
Okay.
Mickey.
All right,
Because I'm
thank
not
you. With that, we have 5 affirmative votes. The ordinance is passed, and since we have a supermajority, the ordinance goes into effect immediately. I thank you, Council, for that. This gives Mike a real important tool. Maintaining these streets is very difficult as it is. Now he can start having a little bit of say about where and what kind of trucks travel on our roads. Okay, now under committee reports, we have CARES Funding Allocation Committee. Matthew Lund, you have a report for us.
I do. Hang on, I need to find it. So I have one modification that needs to be brought up from what we voted on last week. We found out that one of the businesses that we granted funds to fell out of eligibility because they're not currently operating. And that is Sukasa Yoga Studio. And so they had fallen out of our qualifications. So the committee met and unanimously voted to essentially submit a modified list of the grantees, removing Sukasa Yoga. And then additionally, we made a motion to distribute the $3,700 that was distributed to them to be distributed equally to all the other recipients that got $3,700 because they had all applied for $5,000, but we only had enough to give them $3,700, making all of the remaining nine recipients to get $4,111 instead of the original $3,700. I hope that makes sense. So essentially, removing Sukasa Yoga from the list and then distributing equally the $3,700 that would have gone to them to all of the other 9 recipients that received $3,700, making their allocation $4,111. So I would be looking for approval of both those things, the removal of the business and then the reallocation of the funds that we had originally granted.
I make a motion that we approve this adjustment of deleting Sukasa Yogurt from the award and redistributing it as the committee has recommended.
That would be Sukasa Yoga, just for clarification.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'll second that.
All right, it's moved and seconded to approve the reallocation of funds. And
I'll need to recuse myself from this vote.
okay. Okay, I was trying to repeat the motion, and that is to approve the reallocation formula that Matthew just described. Questions on that motion?
We can't have anyone else recuse themselves, okay?
Questions on the motion? Not hearing any. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
John, did you say aye?
I said aye, yes.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to make sure that I heard everybody. Okay, there's 4 ayes that voted for this. Are those opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Thank you, Kathy, for that. Now, we're at the portion of the meeting where we're going to go into an executive session. So what I want to do, Stephen, you have
One quick thing.
oh, maybe there's some other committee.
One quick matter.
Yes.
It's a committee matter that we'll be talking about, but we had talked about going forward with the allocation of iPads for the council and the mayor out of the CARES Act. So you'll see a recommendation coming forward from us. We were just waiting on some numbers. So we'll just let you know, you'll see that, and we'll probably be wanting to get a approval of that pretty quickly.
Okay, so what Stephen is talking about is that since we are having to have these types of meetings all the time, we're going to provide communication devices for all the council for that purpose. Okay, so now with that, we're going to go into executive session. So I need to say that the executive session is going to be for 20 minutes, as I give the time. And there is this action is expected to be taken, and so if we need more time, I'll come back on this Zoom forum and inform the people that are waiting on this forum of that purpose. So what we will do to have this executive session, you have a sheet. We're going to phone a conference call, and we will have our executive session at that time. And then I imagine, I'm hoping that all the council have their confidential executive session meeting instructions. And so Matthew, you will be doing what to this meeting here?
So I'm gonna mute everyone. So everyone will be muted for the Zoom.
All right, and then I would ask that basically we're all muted. You might just like turn away or step aside from your screenshot and make the call. All right.
And Mayor,
hang on.
This is Alex. Really fast. I might have missed it, but did you state the reason for the executive session?
Oh, you know what? It's for pending. You're absolutely right. The executive session is for pending litigation. Is that correct?
Pending or
That's
potential.
correct. Yeah.
All right. And then what I also should mention that it looks to me like it's
7:32.
7:32 and 7:32, and so it'll be 7:52 when we come back. Okay. All right.
Nope.
Okay, we're out of executive session, and it's Matthew. What time is it exactly?
7:52. Oh.
7:52, and from 7:53. All right. So we've had a council. Is there a motion that the council wishes to make?
Yes, I would make a motion that we authorize the mayor to oh no, I forgot the word.
Appeal.
Appeal. Thank you. The word appeal. To appeal the forest management practices with the Department of Natural Resources for the Ponderosa Pines development.
Second it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to authorize the mayor to file an appeal for the Forest Practice Act permit for the Ponderosa Pines development.
Yes.
Questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Opposed? There's none opposed. Thank you for the authorization. And so with that, I don't know. You guys want to just hang out for a while?
Second.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Jay.
Well, we got our work done.